Hello, and today I will be reviewing two games from my past. One from when I was a wee lad in 2017 at the CPS Youth Championships, and a game from January 29th, 2024 to show how much progress one can make in that time. Start off with the game from 2017. I'm using the Chess Up board from Bright Labs, and a green move, as you can see here, means that it is a good move or a recommended move. A blue move, either one of these, means that it is an okay move, and a red move, which there are none on the first move, but you will see it later, means that it is a big mistake. We'll start off with a boy by the name of Ivan playing white, and I am playing black. I just will rotate this so you can play it from the eyes of my opponent. Start off with my opponent playing G3. Now it is a blue move, so that means it is an okay move. I play E5, also an okay move. Bishop G2, a green move. This is the King's Fianchetto opening, along with Knight to F6. We have E3, a recommended move. And then we have Knight C6, a very solid opening. We have Bishop F3. Here we go. Here are the first red moves of the game, right here and here, because they're to immediately be taken by the knight. So we have Bishop F3. We have D3, a recommended move, again with the green. Oh, I read that wrong. Another thing with the Chess Up board is that, I played the wrong move. If you put it back, it will reset the position, so you can play the correct move. Then we have G4, pushing the pawn, defended by the bishop and x-rayed by the queen. We have E4, an okay move. I'm not quite sure what the best move here would be. It seems to be taking the bishop to try the pawn to try to get some advantage, but that works just the same. Have Bishop G2, and we have Bishop takes G4, threatening the queen. We have F3, blocking the attack, and we have captures F3. Bishop tap captures F3. Bishop F5. Normal game so far. Very normal game so far. Some tactics missed, very wild opening for a, what would that be, 10-year-old? But nonetheless, we will continue. We have C3. No, wait, we have Bishop E2. Bishop B4. Putting pressure on the king. C3. putting pressure on the bishop. So now it can be taken if it does not move. Now as you can see, all the rest of these moves are okay moves. Even though they lose a bishop, they are all okay moves because they don't lose something immediately, except for this, because it does nothing. This also, if you're wondering why this is a green move, is because that's something called danger levels. If you can threaten something or take something that is of equal or greater value, it is okay to do so. But I go bishop c3. I go bishop takes c3. My first showing of that I am 10. Then he goes a3. Again, he is 10. Bishop takes g1. Oh, I took here. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Yeah, takes. Let's me at here, here. Takes. The reason why it's freaking out here is because it thinks this is a bishop, as you can see, which it is not. But we have there, this is a bishop actually. There, a3 again, we are 10. Then we have bishop back here. We have, as you can see here, it cannot move this pawn because of the pin. Pushes here, moves back. This is another one of the moves where it shows, yes we are indeed 10 years old, where we have d3 takes, which immediately loses bishop, and then we have knight blocks. Oh buddy, oh boy. Then we have knight takes g1, rook takes g1, and castles. Rook g3, a good move. Knight d5. Oh, sorry. Pawn d4 first. Then we have bishop h5. If you look, that's right here. You can take, but it'll be recaptured by the queen, putting pressure here. So then we have knight. You have knight e5. Queen e2. Knight in the center. As you can see, that is a red move. A red move, meaning it is a blunder because you are immediately losing this knight in the center, which he does not take. He goes rook g1. Again, if you move any other piece, it is a blunder because you are just simply not taking that piece. There's only one good move, but he does not see it. Oh my god. Again, 7 years old. We then see knight takes. Then see knight takes. Then we have knight here. Hanging this once again. Then we have bishop to b2. Hanging the queen. Knight takes e2. As you can see here, I am up fully. I am up a lot of material. But again, this is not a good game by either of us. We have hung so many pieces in so many different ways. D3. Not possible, Tyler. Oh, I see what it is. It's rook. It is king takes e2. Bishop takes d3. He moves back. I threaten. But by the way, he does not need to move this bishop right away because this rook is pinning this pawn to this king. So he decides to go here. Try to anchor this in a little bit. Try to start threatening maybe here. I then move out of the way. So now he does move. Now he does move his piece back. Now generally when it is a losing position, you do not want to trade pieces because the less pieces you have on the board compared to your opponent, once all the trades are complete, then your opponent will simply be left with, in this case, a full queen. Now in this position, I took, he took back, and I went here. It's a very bad position for everyone involved, except for, me. And by the way, this move was a green move because it does not hang this pawn, as going here to here still keeps it on that triangle where it can go. He responds with knight back to f1. Very good move from a beginner. I also respond with queen e4. Check. He moves back. I move here with check. Only a couple moves. Here. And I go here. Check. He must go here. This is where you have to be very careful as a player not to blunder a accidental checkmate. Or blundering a queen. That's also a very bad idea. But he does not, and neither do I. As you can see, these are all red moves. But, of course, I go here. And he can just simply take this pawn. And check. And move back. He goes back to defend. I check. Can only move this king here. I go here with the check. There again. And that is not a checkmate, by the way. You may think it is. It's not. But I go here. He goes up. I go back here. Now this is a mate, by the way. I go here. Force him to go back. And I finally finish it with queen d1 checkmate. It does a little animation. That was a hectic game, to say the least. I mean, a lot of blunders, a lot of very, very missed tactics. Kind of seemed like we were just throwing pieces at each other, hoping it would work for one of us, and it eventually did. But for our 10-year-old standards, not a bad game. And another cool thing about this is that it shows this little graphic here for what to put where. And once you are done, it does a little animation. Now this next game is against a girl named Alexandra, and this was played at the CPS Championships of 2024, January 29th, I believe. I can check again. My apologies, January 20th, 2024. So, I'm with the white pieces today, and I start off with d4. She responds with knight f6, knight c3. Not the best move, but this was a practice game I played against someone who was in we call it the Skittles room, but it's basically the waiting room for chess tournaments, and we both wanted to practice against each other. So I was practicing my d4 openings, she was practicing her d4 defense. She goes d5, knight f3, and bishop e5. This is the queen's pawn opening, specifically the Indian game. And this is where the last book move ends, because I immediately break book by going to bishop g5. She responds with knight to d7, stabilizing the center, and she doesn't take away no, not what I meant to do. Nope. She does not take away knight f6 threats, but she limits them. I go to e3, pushes the h6, and I take. I have this stored on my Chromebook and is running through Stockfish on chess.com. She takes the right way with knight takes f6. I respond with g3, trying for funnily enough, this would be called the super sniper bishop, because all of black's pieces are on this side, and then the bishop would be pointing directly at this rook and this diagonal by itself. Fun name for a chess opening. Pushes to e6, and I follow through with the super sniper bishop. Goes to b4, pinning my knight so it can no longer support the defense or maneuver away from the king. I get out of the pin by castling, and she responds with castling. I push to kick out the bishop, and she takes my knight. This was the only good move in the position, and based on Stockfish, that was labeled a great move. I take in the center, another only good move, but a little bit more obvious. She puts her knight in the center. Now this knight is so good because it is in the center, attacking the white pieces and being able to maneuver that every single one of its moves is a green move. This is why one of the most important chess principles is to get your knights out early, but she puts it on e4. Queen e1, trying to put some claim here. It's not the best move because I am putting this rook in jail, but it is still a okay move. Knight back. I'm gonna kind of already see the development of pieces and the difference between that game all the way back in 2017 to a game that happened 2 months ago. You can see some principles, you can see the position looks a little bit more normal, there's a lot less takes or captures, there's a lot less up in the air, wild play. It's a lot more solid, it's a lot more, I'm going to try to pick away your position and try to maneuver. The reason why all those moves ago, she did not go back and then here. This gave a threat to here, and it could choose the same objective of getting the knight here to try to go here, or possibly here, or possibly even here. Now, I go knight in the center. She responds, I was taking a free pawn. I go here, another okay move, and she pushes. So this is called danger levels, as I mentioned earlier, but this is it or in full effect. The bishop is worth, depending on who you ask, either the same or 0.5 points more than a knight, because the bishop can do a lot more, but in endgames, knights are much better. So, she's trying to say, hey, if you capture my bishop, I will capture your knight. I capture it, the correct move. She captures my knight. The only problem with this position and that gamble, this is the first real gamble that you see in this whole game, is that I take this pawn with something that chess players call tempo. Tempo is where you make a move that forces your opponent to react. They don't choose to react, it is a forceful move that makes them react, or else they will lose the game. Now, taking this bishop with this pawn puts this knight in full panic mode because this pawn here couldn't capture it. It moves out of the way into the center of the board, protected by its own pawns. And I go queen here, threatening here, keeping my eye here. And again, this pawn can be hanging, within this pawn will be hanging, and so consequently this pawn. So he pushes, and I move my rook to d1. Very solid game, perhaps a boring game, but it is a very, very relaxing game to watch and for myself to review, because there's not a lot of wild sacrifices. I mean, there will be in 2 moves, but not right now. Knight captures the center, capturing a free pawn, but this is where, before I start, and where you can see that I have grown so much in my calculations. I take in the center of the board. This is labeled as a brilliant move because of the follow-up that happens. Because if you take, you can take this pawn. I will take here, threatening the queen, and this queen is x-raying this king. That's why queen positioning is so important. And that is also why all those moves ago, I moved rook to d1 to put this on the angle and put black's position in a very, very tough situation. She takes in the center. She's now up a full bishop. Not for long. I take in the center, taking that pawn back, and her first real blunder of the game. If you can see here, there's actually only one good move, and that is here, giving a check, but it's really not a good move in this position. You are lost in it. You are basically lost. But the correct move in this position, according to Stockfish, was to go here, but instead she goes to e8. And I take this knight with check, a discovered check. Discovered check is when you move a piece out of the way and it reveals or discovers a check. This wins a queen. This puts the king in a bad situation. She moves here. The only good move in this position, because a queen is worth the same amount as a queen. I capture the queen, a great move again, because every other move just loses the game. And he takes back. And I am still not up a piece, but I am up an F pawn or an E pawn, depending on how you look at it, because this pawn has no neighbors. These two pawns cancel, these two pawns cancel, and these four pawns over here cancel. Oh wait, I actually did that wrong, my bad. It is actually he takes here. He takes with the rook. And then I slide over to d1, capturing an open file. This is where rooks really like to be, is this open file. Rook to f3. That is considered an inaccuracy, or something not recommended by the computer, but does not also lose you the game. I move king here, kicking out the rook, and she goes to f8, threatening here, threatening this in the future, just a lot of threats. I go the only good move in this position. This is an okay move, but this is labeled on Chess.com as a great move. Rook d2, defending here, still keeping my eyes on this file, and supporting the back row. She pushes, and I move back here to try and trap this rook in with f4. She does not see that, so she goes here, and I succeed in my move of trapping this rook in. Now this rook has no way to escape. Takes my rook again, and I take with the g pawn. Now either one would work as a take, but this is considered the best move. She moves up, trying to salvage something, to salvage this back rank, and I go here, poking, prodding, moves up, a4, king here, a5. Now this does not give away a free pawn, as you'll see very soon, because as she takes my pawn, now my rook, now this pawn chain that was originally completely and utterly impenetrable, is now broken up completely. Takes, goes here. I do not accept. I check, winning another pawn. Moves back, and I go here, looking to plant myself firmly in the middle. He goes here. I drop back. Now the reason why I am rushing through this part of the game is because it's a lot of shuffling, it's a lot of seeing when the other will blink. Move here to defend both pieces, and I go here. This is considered a great move because it completely shuts down Black's position. You cannot move either of these three pieces. And now this utterly becomes a 5 against 2 instead of a 5 against 4. Moves king to f7, should have dropped back or pushed. I push. She pushes here. Again, you don't want to trade when you're down, but at this point in the game, she is trying to create counterplay. Counterplay is when you are losing, or when your opponent has an attack, and you try to make that attack into a weakness and push it back against your opponent. I push to c5, king here, trying to cut off this pawn. Now there's a rule called the square, where if your king is inside this square and there's nothing else around it, you are fine. I push my king up, king here, I push my king up, takes my pawn, again not a free pawn because I'm about to take his, danger levels, and now king goes here. Now, this is the first time where this rook and this pawn brigade gets pretty unblocked. Now, I move my rook all the way back, and the king goes here. I push my pawn aside, and as you can see, the box, the king is outside of the box, and this king blocks out this king, the opponent king. King going for my rook with a Hail Mary, I push, finds my rook, I move out of the way, and the rook finally moves over. I push my pawn, she pushes hers, but I win this race. This is the first big blunder of the game. She should have checked, try to get some tempo, but moves back, but that is considered obsolete when I go here. Pushes her pawn, another blunder. The best move here was to give a check, and I push my own pawn. Finally, gives a check. I move back, gives another check. I move up, gives another check. I move back, another check. I move here, trying to hide. Goes here, and now the game is completely lost after I play here. Because after here to block here, now that is considered by the board a bad move, because the correct move was to give a check, but I digress. Pushes again, and now if you can see here, I'm creating almost a tunnel for my king to progress. Makes a queen that I immediately take, and he takes back. Now, this rook will go here, and this pawn will go here. Basically, he did win that trade, but I am much closer with all my pawns as I go here, push, here, over, push, back, and queen. He immediately takes the queen, takes the queen, I take the rook, and this is a winning endgame for 2 or 3 reasons. The first reason that I have a pawn 1 square away from promotion. Second reason is I have more pawns. And the third and more obscure reason is that this king is in front of this pawn, meaning it will take 1, 2, 3 moves to queen. Now, she pushes, I make a queen, now I am simply up a full queen. The king moves out of the way, I give a check on this diagonal, and now this stops this pawn, moves back. I am going to speed through this part of the game because this is where I just push, let them make a queen, trade queens, and convert a pretty boring but a very